Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go over how I'm repairing my Holland Star LED grow light. I'm going to go over what's wrong with it and how I repair it. Also some other causes that you can look out for, but we'll get into it. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you what the issue is. So the first thing that is the issue is when you put on the grow stage. I know it's kind of bright. You can see not all the lights are fully lit up, and they're not to their full capacity. A little bit of an explanation behind these grow lights is that they work similar to Christmas tree lights. So if you guys have ever dealt with replacing light bulbs on a Christmas tree strand, you'll know that when one goes out, a series in that strand will go out. So what it is, you know, every third or fourth or whatever light is kind of tied together in here. And so if one of those lights goes out, LED lights goes out, that whole series has either an issue or an outage. So that's the grow stage, and then I'll show you on the bloom stage what it looks like. Shield your eyes. All right. And that one, for the most part, works okay, but I can still see that there's 3 out right here. This one's only glowing because of the fluorescence of the others, and you can see that on the other side. So there's definitely something going on there. So the way that you test which ones are bad on this is by opening up the panel. Luckily, this one, I have already taken these loose, and I can do that from this front side, which is very nice. I don't have to take a bunch of stuff apart. And then you use your multimeter. So what you're going to do is grab your multimeter, and you're going to put it here to the alarm, or the what it does is it has, anytime there's a break in the line, it will alarm if it has continuity or not. Also, if it has low voltage like this, it will actually light it up. So I'll show you on that. I don't know if I'll be able to keep this in screen, but I'll try to do that for you. And so when you put it on this and you find one, you gotta make sure that the connections are the right ones. So you gotta switch it. Boom, you see that? It lights up there. And so positive on positive. You see that lights up there. Lights up. That one, it's hard to see. That's an infrared. It's a little lighter, but it does light up. That's an infrared. That one lights up. That one lights up. So I've done this across the whole circuit board already. I'm just kind of in saving of time, and I've marked the ones that are bad. And see if I can find my marks. So right here is a bad one, and I'll show you. The one right next to it is a similar type of light here, and that works just fine. And then you go to this one here, and nothing. See that? These work just fine. And then I've marked this one as a bad one here. This is a similar light. See, it works just fine. Put the one next to it, nothing. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna replace these with a similar type of LED. They may not be exact, but it'll work. There's only 3 of them that are bad. So I'm gonna go ahead, what I'll do is I'll heat up the edges with the soldering iron, pop that solder loose, pop the LED out, and then resolder these back in. And that should take care of the problem. Another thing you can do to test, and I have done this, you could take what's called the jumper wire, and so what you would do is hook black to black, not black to black, but have these 2 wires on either side, and you could fix that connection, that bad connection here. So that means that it would continue that connection, and then the rest of that strand would light up. And I'll show you what that looks like actually. I will warn you, it may or may not be the safest thing. This should be fairly low wattage, so I'm not too concerned. Plus I'm holding insulated wire, but it is a good way to test to make sure that that's your issue. So I'm going to turn this on. And you can see that there's an outage right here. And if I connect these two, you see how the rest of them light up. So that tells me that by fixing that LED, that part of that circuit will correct itself. So we'll get on to the next part of unsoldering the old LEDs and then resoldering the new ones, and then we'll test it out. Alright, so we got the soldering iron heated up. I will say that the soldering iron I'm going to use is probably not the most ideal for the situation. The one I have, I don't have the right tip for. It needs to be kind of a little bit of a finer tip for this detail. But if you just kind of get a cheap soldering iron, it'll work. One thing to also test out, if this LEDs weren't the issue here, if you did those tests that I did earlier and you still had an issue, what you'd want to do is take off the back and unplug each of the LED drivers, and you'd want to test the continuity on those to make sure your LED drivers did not go out or fail. So there should be one for each section. This one probably has 3 or 4 or maybe even more LED drivers if I'm not mistaken, but that's just something you want to test out before just throwing it in the trash. Alright, so we'll go on to this. We'll try and get the hardest one out first, which is going to be the slower one. It's kind of in the way down here. What I'm going to do is I'm just got a small screwdriver, and I'm going to heat up the old solders here, and I'm going to pry underneath this, and it should just pop loose. So there might be a little bit of contact cement or something that they put on there to put it in place, but it should pop loose still. So I'm just going to heat up just the solder itself, and then once I see that it's kind of softened, I should be able to pry it loose. And I just want to be careful not to melt any of the wire or anything in there. Yep, see that just popped loose. And then do the same to the other side. There we go. Got that out. Again, don't grab it with your hands, could still be hot. And what it looked like is the actual LED is still on here, right here. So that contact cement is still on there. So we're gonna still have to get that loose there. But we'll get these other ones off, and then we'll get that LED out of there. This is the other one I got marked. So I got these all off as far as that goes. I'm going to get a pair of pliers maybe, or a little smaller chisel to get under here and just pop these loose. And I'll be back in a minute. We'll get to the next step. Okay, I've got it all cleaned off now. I popped that piece loose. And then what I take is I took a 91% isopropyl alcohol on a pad, and I just clean this area up in case there is any loose resin or anything like that, and then make sure that I get good clean contacts. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to solder this on here. First what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat up the solder, and I'm going to put a dab on each one of these contact points, and then I'll set the LED in place in the right direction. You have to test those LEDs to make sure that they're going. You can kind of see very minutely there's a positive right there above each one of the positive sides. So just got to make sure it's facing the right direction, or else it's not going to work. And then I'll heat up the top of the LED. It'll set into solder, and then I'll put a little bit more solder over the top of the LED. And we'll show you what that looks like. Okay, it's not the prettiest job I've ever done, but it should work. Just want to check the continuity between the two, and there we go, it works just fine still. And all I'm doing is making sure I didn't damage the LED, maybe overheating it or something like that. And then, you know, just making sure that the contact was good. So I'll leave that there. One other note, and I didn't mention, is I did put a little bit of flux on those contact points beforehand. It just helps with it. You can kind of see a little bit of it squeezed out there, but you just want to make sure you use flux on there. So I'll do the rest of these and then we'll test her out. Alright, we got this one here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the edge of my solder wire and I dipped it in some flux. And what I'm doing is I'm just putting a little bit of flux on that contact, and it's just ensuring good clean adhesion to that contact point. What you want to do is make sure that you test your LEDs also for the right polarity. So positive and negative on here, and I've pre-done that. And then again, I hit these with a little bit of flux. Don't need a whole lot, just a little bit, just so you get good contact and clean adhesion. And the way I like to do this, and you know, others may differ, is I like to put a little drop on the contact point first, heat it up, and put it on the contact point, and then I'll set the LED on top of that, and then after I've set it on top, I'll heat it up so it sinks in, and then put another little bit over the top of it, and that just in here ensures that it's sealed up good. So we'll do that first. Flip over my rod. and just a little dot. Don't need a whole lot. There you go. Make sure my polarity is right. That'll make a huge difference. It will not work with the wrong polarity. And I lost the polarity on that one, so I'm going to use it on one that I know which direction it's facing. And a good set of tweezers is important on this, just to let you know, and this is not a good set of tweezers. So. And then I'm going to just use the rod here. And not stick down to the contact point, I could tell that. So just using the tweezers, I'm going to push down on the LED and reheat that contact point. There we go. And I felt it hit right there. Just make sure it's good and solid. And it don't have to be pretty. All you're looking for is good contact. If you're not perfect at this, it's not a big deal. And I'm not perfect. And I'm probably using a little bit too much solder, but I don't want to get in here and have to do this again, to be honest with you. So this one I'm going to check just to make sure I didn't damage the LED, just because I heated it a couple times. Usually don't like to go back and forth like that, but I should be able to touch this and boom. Alright, so the LED is not damaged. I know that's good. Also, what I should be able to do is turn this on now that I'm not messing with it. I'll just turn it on and make sure that lights up. If you're sensitive to light, be ready for that. So that's the bloom, I believe. And there's the grow. And if you remember, this is the one we fixed, so pay attention, that's the one that'll kick on. Boom, it's on. And that whole panel lit up, that didn't do that before. So there you go. And that's how you fix it. So I'll get it all buttoned up and cleaned up, and you'll be able to see the finished product. Alright, and that's pretty much it, guys. Once you got them soldered on like that, it's good to test out and make sure that everything's all good. I would recommend running a few day-night cycles before you have it ready for your grow, just to make sure that, you know, just the normal heating and everything that happens and everything cooling, all your stuff works, just so that you're just not banking on that for your plants. Let's just say a month from now is when you plan on growing something. You want to make sure that it's ready for it. So I'd recommend just sending it through a few day-night cycles and making sure that everything's working as it should. But I'll show you what it is now turned on, so be ready for that. And again, here's the grow, and here is the bloom, and you can see all the light panels are lit up like they should be. Alright guys, I'm going to end on that note, and if you guys like it, subscribe, share with a friend, and catch you on the next one.